Welcome to Torah Tuesday. This week's Torah portion is Vayishlach. We meet Jacob on his journey and jump ahead a few decades after he left home. At this point, he is waiting to be reunited with his brother Esau, with whom he had a falling out many years before. He is a successful man with wives and children and riches beyond his wildest dreams, but he is still afraid of seeing the brother he betrayed many years ago. Vayishlach is very famous for its moment of Jacob's dream. In this dream, Jacob wrestles with an ish, which means a man in Hebrew, and it's understood a couple different ways. Who is this ish? Who was Jacob wrestling in his dream? Many commentators have different ideas. One says that perhaps Jacob was wrestling with God, that Jacob was wrestling with his relationship with God and his destiny in the world. Secondly, perhaps he was wrestling with an angel. Many of us learn this story as Jacob wrestling with an angel, a messenger of God, a divine being who wrestled with Jacob in that moment. The third option is that perhaps Jacob was really wrestling with himself. In that dream, he was wrestling with his own guilt, his anxiety, and all of the things that were so uncertain for him that night before he goes back to meet his brother Esau. Among these three options, I think the first one is the most interesting. This idea that Jacob perhaps was wrestling with God. This idea that Jacob could meet God face to face, panim el panim, is really powerful. And I think that's what makes this dream so intense and so overpowering for Jacob. God has a very special relationship with Jacob, but there's always been doubt and fear and dread. He isn't sure about the future or who he is in the world. And Jacob wrestles with God to request a blessing to be who he is and to be who he will be in the world. At the end of this dream, God changes Jacob's name from Yaakov to Israel. This is the moment where Jacob becomes Israel, the one who wrestles with God. I believe that this image is so powerful for us. In theology, this idea of wrestling with God, especially in our community in Reform Judaism, we find this to be a really resonant image, this idea that we can wrestle with ideas, we can wrestle with our thoughts about God, we can wrestle with Judaism, is something that really speaks to so many of us today. This week, as we remember Vayishlach and this moment of Jacob wrestling, I invite you to think about the things in your own life that you wrestle with, and to be like Jacob, be like Israel, the one who engages with them, who fights and requests a blessing. He will not go unless he is blessed. And remember that all of us are worthy of blessing as well.